Hi everyone, a bit of a different video today. I fancied doing an album review. This is my first album review, so go easy on me. 2012, which has just gone past, was an absolutely awesome year for music in my opinion. I think it's been one of the biggest years for metal releases in a long time, and so many good musical releases came out. The new Meshuggah, new Job for a Cowboy, new Cryptopsy, new Silosis, Rings of Saturn, Pig Destroyer. Just so many great big albums, and it was great picking those up. 2013, on the other hand, to me doesn't look that exciting at the moment. I've had a look at a few bands, see if they're releasing any new albums. I've seen some lists, and it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't seem quite so interesting. So I thought I would talk about one of my favourite albums instead of doing a current album, if you will. And I am talking about Catch 33 by Meshuggah. This is their fifth album. It was released in 2005 after the IEP and Nothing from 2002, and I've got to say straight off the bat, this is my favourite Meshuggah album. It is a concept album, and when I first got this I didn't know it was a concept album. It was a bit weird at first. I think I was doing a piece of homework at the time, and I'd looked at the back of the CD and I thought to myself, it's going to be a standard kind of deal. Thought 13 new Meshuggah songs, great, fantastic. And before I knew it, I looked up and it was already on track number 3. I thought, what the hell's going on here? It was a bit weird. So I gave it some more repeat listens, and I had a read through the lyric book, and I did indeed find out it was a concept album, both structurally and lyrically. Structurally because it is essentially a 47-minute song, if you want to look at it that way, and lyrically because it deals with contradictions in life and death. And the lyrics are awesome. They're really dark and have lots of layers of meaning within them. And one thing I love about Meshuggah is you're almost guaranteed with each album to learn a new word from the English language that you didn't know before, which is quite unique considering they're a Swedish band. You're not going to find this in deathcore or anything like that. Any excuse to rip on deathcore. Anyway, I also think that the way that it's structured makes it such a fantastic concept album as well. If you say the words to me, concept album now, one of the first things that will spring into my head is Catch 33, or something like Metropolis Part 2 by Dream Theater, something like that. Two structural concept albums that flow from start to finish essentially, and that's why I love this as well. The music on this album is what you would sort of expect with Meshuggah, the dark, jarring, grinding riffs with heavy syncopation, and that's no different here, but with the lyrics and the continuity and structure of the album, it just makes it such a dark atmosphere that is unrivaled in any other Meshuggah album. I don't think Kolos, Obzen, or any of their other work prior to this, Nothing, Chaosphere, has an atmosphere that can match this. It is just so dark the whole way through, but so enjoyable to listen to. It has some really scary moments in it. The moment that Shed kicks in after In Death is Death, with Jens Kidman's scream, and when the guitars and drums kick back in, is almost guaranteed to make you shit your pants. And the ending of the album, with Sun, is one of the most despondent, dark sounding parts of any album. And this is the first album that has ever given me a nightmare. I wouldn't recommend you listen to this at night. It's not casual listening, unless you want a nightmare, of course. But it is an absolutely brilliant album. Very dark, but not for the casual listener. And 3 highlights for me on this album that I'd highly recommend that you listen to are Entrapment. It has the grinding riffs that you'd expect with heavy syncopation, as well as a very bending, very twisted guitar lead, which is just absolutely fantastic on this record. In Death is Death, which I mentioned, is also a fantastic part of the album. It has a lot of different breaks and sections, which make it a really interesting part of the album. It has a clean section right at the end, where it almost seems disjointed with nonsensical notes put together. But then as the song progresses, you have more structure sort of being introduced, and it becomes more musical essentially before it kicks into Shed. And then my last real highlight is the end of the album, Sun, which I also mentioned. And like I said, it's one of the darkest pieces of music I've heard, it has this descending riff that takes up most of the song before the clean section kicks in, and the layers of guitars and vocals and screams of Jens Kidman that sort of build up make it one of the most despondent, dark sounding parts, and it's really quite cerebral. It really envelops you, and it is absolutely brilliant. If you're new to Meshuggah, this may not be the best album to start with. I'd recommend either Obzen or Chaosphere or not Catch 33, my mistake, Destroy, Erase, Improve, because it's not quite as like jarring and syncopated. Well, it is, but it's more conventional. And despite that, I'd highly recommend it. I'd give it a like strong 9 out of 10, and definitely check it out. And if you're interested in this and you like the sound of it, I'd highly recommend you check out the I EP, which preceded this. It almost acted as a way to sort of show the fans what kind of direction they're going in with this album, because that's a 21-minute song essentially, and sort of shows how they're looking to go for something quite conceptual, quite long, and quite progressive. So definitely check that out. And on another note, just before I finish, if you've downloaded the Pitch Black EP, what did you think of it? I personally really liked it. I think it encapsulates quite a few of the eras. It's got the like current sound and production quality that you may hear on Kolos. I think it's got like the clean sections that you would expect on something like Nothing, which is really nice. And I think some of the riffs kind of remind me of the Chaosphere era as well. And I think that all combined like makes it a really good song. I know it's only one song, but I think it's really interesting. If they try and go for something like that on the new album, I think it could be very good. Anyway, Catch 33, definitely go out and check it. Buy a copy. It is absolutely awesome. Be a bit patient with it, because it does take a little while to get used to. I've listened to it over 50 times, and yeah, definitely buy this album. Take it easy. See you soon.